Hi, I'm Gil Gockley. Welcome to my love-centered meeting house. After 4 introductions, we are ready to begin our training program. Our love-centered meeting house is a gathering place for all people. It's a loving place with no religious and political judgments. It's a spiritual inner journey. I am your education teacher. My job, my role, is to guide you through the 11 steps through these 8 training videos. I want to give you some meaningful suggestions. I believe my most important role is to keep you focused, to keep you inspired, to keep you committed to stay on this wonderful spiritual retreat. I want to prepare you for your assignments, and I will run through and have you mark some important pieces in your training manual. Your training manual is self-knowledge, spiritual knowledge, living knowledge. This is a spiritual retreat, and I think by now you have a good sense of the procedures. Hopefully you've set up your satellite meeting house. You've invited others to join you. I hope by now you have your training manuals, or hopefully we'll have them shortly. Each member listens to this video, and then they take time to complete the assignments. You meditate every day, and then you meet with your satellite meeting house members. If you have any questions, you can send them to me. This is a spiritual retreat. It's not a book discussion group. I've been to dozens of book discussion groups. This is different. It's not a therapy group, although if you're in therapy, this will only enhance your recovery. It's not a religious retreat. It is a spiritual retreat. It is a loving, healing gathering place where you can wander, ponder, and dream of life and spiritual possibilities. Always, always keep the possibilities there. You never know what you will discover through this process. It's an opportunity to learn, grow, love, and share together, to become the person you want to become. I am challenging you to be involved in this spiritual retreat every day. I call it our 60-day spiritual retreat. After 3+ years facilitating focus groups almost every week, I found a doable way to make this work. Number 1, complete the assignments every day. For example, this first training program probably has 50 pages. That means really every day you spend 6 to 8 pages, a 10-minute experience every day, so that you can think about this inner process on a daily basis, not just for 1 hour a week, but every day. I'm going to ask you to underline as you're reading with a red pen those things that are most important to you. Now think about that. It's a way to reinforce what you're learning, what you're discovering, what you're enjoying. I want you to write on the borders. And I'm really challenging you to do this. You know, like, wow, love this. Really? It now is your reference book. I want you to meditate every day for 20 minutes. I know. Lots of you are out there saying, I don't like to meditate. Yeah, I can't stop thinking. That's the point. That's the point of meditating. I'm challenging you to do your assignments piecemeal over 6 or 7 days. I'm asking you to meditate for 20 minutes. If you do those things, you will then be moving into your spiritual retreat and a life transformation. Now, when your group meets, I am going to be blunt. Don't dominate. Some of you are talkers, and some of you are listeners. Talkers, I want you to listen more. Listeners, I want you to talk more. Stay positive. Just whatever you need to do, don't get into negativity, don't get into defensiveness, don't get into moody actions. I've had focus groups where I had one negative person that kind of took the whole group down. So please, stay positive. Leaders, and I like co-leaders, you may have to talk to someone and be kind and gentle, but you may have to say to them, you seem upset about this process. I'd like you to just listen and be focused on what is happening. Okay, this is our overview poster. This will help guide you through those 11 steps. This has to do with 5 spiritual gifts. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Today, we're dealing with step 1, feelings, and step 2, the positive inner voice, that positive inner self. Now, when you get those 2, it opens the door for the rest of the process. These are the assignments, and we'll follow these again, step by step. The 8 training videos for the spiritual retreat. Your meeting house members will decide kind of automatically whether you want to spend 1 meeting, 2 or 3 meetings per video. Now, some of you will be meeting for 2 hours, so you can cover a lot of ground in 2 hours. Others might be meeting for an hour. So you might say, let's meet one more time on video 1. It'll all happen. Don't even worry about it. You are committing to 10 to 15 minutes every day. I can't stress this enough. You are committing 10 to 15 minutes to read part of your assignments every day. You're meditating every day. We'll talk about meditation next week, but you need to really focus on those 2 things. Now, self-awareness, there are 5 building blocks, and self-awareness is building block 1. The first 4 videos deal with self-awareness, 55% of the book. That's how important this is, to become self-aware, to become more open, to stop being controlled and dominated by your feelings. You are going to be in charge of your feelings. We're going to talk about that today. So video 1, let's get started. Emotional and the inner voice. Days 1 through 20 are going to be covered on this first video. I had talked about in the introduction about having 15 videos. Well, I changed that because 8 videos really helps me really organize more clearly those 11 steps. And again, you can't do it wrong. Trust the process. Listen to the video, do your assignments, meditate every day, and then meet with your group, and your group will decide how quickly or how slowly you want to move ahead. Group book discussion goals. You will learn how to, 1, acquire total wellness, human and spiritual understanding, inner goodness, spiritual wholeness, and experience the fullest possible flowering of human potentiality. 2. Act upon the laws of humanity, an 11-step inner process leading to total wellness. 3. Act upon Jesus' spiritual messages and prepare to be accepted into God's holy and glorious kingdom. On this one, I will ask all of you to keep this as a possibility, regardless of your concerns or questions or doubts. Keep this as a possibility. 4. Act upon the knowledge presented and walk gently in the light of love. 5. Engage in the process of becoming a happier person and a more open, emotionally healthy, value-centered, and resilient human being. 6. Completely fill your life with love, passion, compassion, and inner goodness. 7. Strengthen your relationships. 8. Live your life with life appreciations, a life purpose, a life direction, and safe, enjoyable life adventures. 9. Avoid and even escape the societal webs of darkness, narcissism, fear, false prophets, negativity, addiction, and complacency. 10. Appreciate the beauty of change and become aware that small positive changes can make huge differences in your life. 11. Appreciate that positive changes only happen when you are aware, open, willing, knowledgeable, and motivated to learn, grow, and transform your life. Learn, grow, and transform your life. Book discussion group tips. 1. Read the assignments thoughtfully and thoroughly. 2. Write in your books. Use a red pen to write phrases such as, wow, my favorite, confused, interesting, and love it. And use a yellow highlighter to identify meaningful sections. 3. Meditate for 20 minutes once a day. Easy to follow directions are found in step 4 of your study guide. 4. Complete all the activities. 5. Listen carefully to what others have to say. 6. Say what you want to say in 30 to 60 seconds. Own your feelings and thoughts. Stick to the point of discussion and ask others clarifying questions. 7. Practice what you are learning. 8. Be patient. Enjoy the experience. 9. Learn, grow, and transform your life. Take those discussion group goals and the discussion group tips seriously and make them work for you. Well, it's time to begin the training. Your first section, the first 11 days, it's called Let's Get Started. There's some very unique and special things you'll be reading. I want to highlight just some of them. I call it 5 marks in 6 minutes. And I'm just going to have you mark so that you make sure your group talks about these sections. So if you're following along with your book, open to page 17. And there's just a little paragraph here I want to read. As you read and gain knowledge through this incredible, comprehensive human development inner process, you experience a greater degree of love and light in your life. You become more emotionally healthy and therefore act upon your positive, healthy character traits that are part of your unique personality. You present to others the best of who you are as a person. You see life more clearly and, for the most part, capture the beauty and wonder of each day. You hear the sweetness and special and splendor of life more intensely. You touch the exquisiteness and loveliness of life more regularly, and you feel and celebrate deep inside yourself the goodness that surrounds your life. You learn that living in love and light is a matter of choice. Turn to page 24 and 25. Day 3, the Jesus-centered, God-loving theology. In my search for human understanding and learning how, through a step-by-step inner process, to become an emotionally healthy person, I discovered the authentic first-century Jesus. I believe Jesus, a Jewish rabbi, is a teacher for all people. Jews can call Jesus teacher or sage or even curiosity. Muslims can call him a prophet of God, and Christians can call him a teacher or God. I call Jesus a teacher. The question always is, what do you think? I'm calling for a transformational religious reform. Living as a dedicated, passionate, Jesus-centered, God-loving disciple based on 5 special spiritual gifts and 26 authentic first-century spiritual messages and parables of Jesus, you will no longer feel unenthusiastic about the spiritual realm. You will be in love with a loving God, with a first-century teacher, with your inner self, and with all your neighbors. Turn and mark on page 27. It has to do with getting a gist, getting an idea of what Jesus said. But I want you to mark the area called oral traditions. These illiterate, Arabic-speaking, loyal followers of Jesus were eyewitnesses of the 3 years of Jesus' ministry. These few eyewitnesses told others the good news, who told others, who told others, who told others. The practice of oral traditions, passing information without the written word, occurred not for just a few months or a few years, but for 4 to 6 decades. It was 45 to 60 years after Jesus' death until the various oral traditions about Jesus were eventually written down. There were, as one would expect, many different beliefs about Jesus' life and sayings. It would be another 265 to 280 years until the final versions of the 4 Gospels of the New Testament would be accepted by the Roman Catholic Church. Turn for marker 4, being in love. I just want to read one paragraph, top of the page, page 39. Through love, life perspective flourishes. You are awakened to what really matters. Relationships thrive. You are more alert, thoughtful, and sensitive. Your perceptions are more accurate. You are more aware of your environment and the people, animals, and plants that surround your life. Your life prospers simply because you are focusing on love and gratitude. Life transcends beyond your wildest dreams, and the spirit within cultivates as a new you emerges and blossoms. The last one, walking in the light, page 41. I want to read just 2 paragraphs in the middle of the page. There are 2 major sources of light: acts of love and the loving Spirit of God. Your foundation of love, along with God's unconditional love, engenders within your soul spiritual energy that illuminates an inner light and clarifies your perceptions. In plain language, you see yourself, others, and life more clearly and with a less self-protective, defensive attitude. You touch the radiance and beauty of life more passionately. When you literally fall in love with yourself, with your inner self, you distinctly differentiate between the good things in life and the bad things in life. You choose more wisely how you want to live your life. Let's move now to step 1, identifying feelings. Feeling words. All feelings can be described as comfortable or uncomfortable. And then mad, sad, glad, confused, excited, happy, disappointed, frustrated, joyous, worried, fearful, lonely, delighted, positive, silly, negative, loving, satisfied, devastated, ecstatic, anxious, peaceful, miserable, shy, thoughtful, hopeful, jealous, energetic, proud, unsure, discouraged, sorry, annoyed, ambivalent, lovable, scared. Feelings. I feel, you feel, everyone feels. Feelings are not right or wrong. Feelings just are. Feelings give meaning to your life. In a few moments, I'll talk about the magic box. In step 1, you are aware of your feelings and name your feelings to yourself. Before you say or do anything, you identify your feelings. You then are in touch with your feelings. With no awareness of your feelings, you are on automatic pilot, being controlled by your feelings. Your self-protective, defensive, offensive, and judgmental thinking takes over. I call this the magic box. You don't really need a box, but what I want to do is have you do something similar when you meet with your group. It's a way to kind of distinguish between thoughts and feelings. Now, in this magic box, I just have some thoughts, and that's all they are. They're thoughts until we have feelings. For example, I pulled this one out, and the thought is moving to and living in New York City. That's the thought. I want you to take a thought like that and ask each one of your group members to tell you how they feel about moving and living in New York City. One person might say, I feel comfortable and excited about living in New York City. Another person might say, I feel nervous and very, very uncomfortable about living in New York City. Let me give you another one. Eating a large piece of squid. Someone might say, oh, I feel comfortable, I feel excited about eating squid. Another person might say, I feel disgusted, I feel awful about eating squid. Let me give you one more. Riding on the highest Ferris wheel in the country. One of your group members might say, oh my gosh, I feel ecstatic, I feel joyful just thinking about getting on that Ferris wheel. Another one might say, oh boy, I feel so uncomfortable, so nervous about getting on that Ferris wheel. The point, feelings give meaning to thoughts, and I want you to keep that in mind. Feelings are so important, and they're honest. They tell us what's happening in our lives. I want to now move to step 2, because once you identify your feelings to yourself, you move automatically to step 2, till you get in touch and connected with your inner self. Talking with you about you. Identifying your feelings, step 1, automatically leads to step 2, connecting with your positive inner voice. Your positive inner voice connects you with what is happening inside you. Your positive inner voice is loving, open, and rational, so you can respond thoughtfully and appropriately. Without self-awareness, without identifying your feelings, you automatically connect with your negative inner voice. Your negative inner voice takes over your life and controls your thinking and your behaviors. I want to read and have you mark some of the areas dealing with step 1, being aware of your feelings. You are beginning your step-by-step inner journey to the heart. It all begins with step 1, being aware of your feelings. The appropriate use of feelings is the pathway to becoming an aware, emotionally healthier person. Because it is your first step, it is, among the 11 steps, the most important. Without being aware and in charge of your feelings, you cannot move forward on this marvelous adventure leading to inner peace and inner happiness. Without understanding and putting into practice this first step, you will continually be controlled by your feelings. You will continue to be an automatic pilot, emotionally reacting to stressful life situations as you always have, basically engaging in a fight or flight mode. Turn to page 55. I just want to make a point here on an activity called getting rid of baggage. I want you to do this. I want you to encourage all your members to do this. I'm going to read just a little bit about that. My heart becomes lighter and freer just thinking about the idea of getting rid of unwanted emotional baggage. I challenge you to do this activity. A secret to living life more fully is to dump emotional baggage. Get rid of it. Personal baggage such as resentments, regrets, sustained negative feelings, fear, self-pity, burdens, helplessness, and the like serves no purpose. These emotionally heavy burdens you are carrying around affect your levels of inner peace and inner happiness. Emotional stress affects your emotional attitude. Stress-filled burdens are inner poisons that control your feelings and thoughts and behaviors. Turn to page 61. Step 2, talking with you about you. Let's look a little closer at this idea of connecting with your inner voice. Along with your feelings, you also have an inner voice. I'm talking about those constant messages in your head. Although you have one inner voice, I identify one of your inner voice, one part of your inner voice as your negative inner voice, and one part as your positive inner voice. In this sense, you have one inner voice with two very distinctive messages. Your negative inner voice is defensive and self-protective. When your negative inner voice takes over your life, it controls your thoughts and actions. You, therefore, automatically emotionally react to individuals and life situations without rational thought and self-awareness. Turn the page to the top, just one more line. You emotionally react with inappropriate behaviors such as yelling, judging, blaming, pouting, and withdrawing as a result of your negative inner voice. Again, it's either fight or flight. Your positive inner voice is open, loving, rational, and emotionally aware. When you pause and take time to identify your feelings, step 1. You can have an open dialogue with your positive inner voice, with your inner self, with you. Step 2. On page 63, I want to read just a little bit about your negative inner voice. Your negative inner voice is not helpful to you. It can bring about a defensive and aggressive posture, or a sulking, self-pitying, and sometimes depressed state of mind. Although your negative inner voice is not particularly insightful, it is inventive, since it can generate exaggerated negative thoughts that result in intense negative feelings. Your negative voice is emotionally on automatic pilot. Your feelings are in control of you. Your negative voice is a menace that can attack you and can also attack others. Negative thinking is poison. I don't like my negative voice, yet I know it's part of me. I know it represents negative things I believe and have learned throughout my life. This includes negative things I've come to believe about myself. With negative thinking, life is viewed as dangerous, unfair, and unpredictable. Turn to page 65. I want to talk a little bit about your positive inner voice, and I want you to mark at the inspirational reading on page 65. Your positive inner voice is responsive. You're talking with your positive inner voice when you are engaging in positive, supportive, and rational thinking and recognizing what your feelings. It's that connection with feelings that makes the difference. You're able to make the most of a difficult situation. Near the end of the page, your positive voice is open to hearing new information and willing to consider new ideas. Your positive inner voice holds a self-confident attitude and celebrates the good things in life. You're in the process of learning how to emotionally connect with and communicate with your positive inner voice. You are the one who chooses to practice identifying your feelings and thinking positively. Your sense of well-being is determined by the choices you make. The path you follow in life is determined by the choices you make. The quality of life is determined by the choices you make. Turn the page, one more thing, right next to the flower. Connecting with your positive, rational inner voice is step 2. Your hope for a better life begins with emotional awareness, step 1, and positive thinking, step 2. When your positive inner voice is in charge, you are self-aware and in charge of you. You're talking with you about you. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Velveteen Rabbit, a stuffed animal who is really struggling with the idea of how do you become real. I want to read just a section. The skin horse had lived longer in the nursery than any of the others. He was so old that his brown coat was bald in patches and showed the seams underneath, and most of the hairs in his tail had been pulled out to string bead necklaces. He was wise, for he had seen a long succession of mechanical toys arrive to boast and swagger, and by break their mainsprings and pass away. He knew that they were only toys and would never turn into anything else. For nursery magic is very strange and wonderful, and only those playthings that are old and wise and experienced, like the skin horse, understood all about it. What is real? Asked the rabbit one day when he was lying side by side near the nursery fender before Nana came to tidy the room. Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and a stick-out handle? Real isn't how you are made, said the skin horse. It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real. Does it hurt? Said the rabbit. Sometimes, said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. When you're real, you don't mind being hurt. Well, does it happen all at once, like being wound up? He asked, or bit by bit? It doesn't happen all at once, said the skin horse. You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't often happen to people who break easily, or have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you're real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter. They don't matter at all. Because once you're real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. In the next 8 videos, I'll be talking about fear versus love. I'll be talking about the external forces of life that impinge on us every day, all day long, and the necessity to develop your insides, your internal forces. So, most of our lives, we deal with fear. All of us, every one of us. And one of the things that I've noticed is that this external world that just bombards us with so many things. I notice that people talk about, I'm happy, I'm sad, I feel angry, I feel anxious. They're kind of like the four things that we feel. The sad thing about all of this is that these feelings come from our external world. Let me give you just an example. People. Can you think of people that every time you see them you kind of feel good inside? Or how sometimes even the people you love can make you feel sad or angry or anxious? People affect our lives, and it's an external force. But it's not just people. It's places. It's ideas. It's data. It's things in our lives. It's events. It's life situations. It's religious dogma. It's political rhetoric. All of this impinges and enhances this fear inside us. And for most of us, we have no training. We have no way to deal with this bombardment. Oh, it's fight or flight. Oh, we run away and then have resentments, or we fight back and have regrets. Some of us at our point, we fight back and don't even have regrets. It's just part of a pattern. Well, there's the key. This program, this love-centered meeting house is based on love. It's to find a balance. So here's how it works. Let's say this desk is your inside. This is your body. And somewhere inside there, I'm telling you, you have goodness. You have an opportunity for love and health and happiness and resiliency. But here's how it works. Somewhere, one of these forces, and a friend of yours or someone you know calls you an idiot. They say you're an idiot. That's really stupid what you said in front of your friends. Now, I can walk away and have resentments, or I can attack that person and say, no, you're the idiot, and have a fruitless fight. Or I can say, step one that we learned today, to myself. Before I say and do anything, I say to myself, I'm feeling uncomfortable, I'm feeling humiliated. The minute I do that, step one. I don't know if you can see this drawer, but I'm opening the drawer and I'm allowed now to move inside this desk, inside my body, to step two. I am now connected to my inner self. And now I have some choices, rational choices. I'm no longer conditioned. I'm no longer controlled by all of this. I now am in charge of me. I'm in charge of my feelings. And next week, we're going to talk about appropriate ways to deal with feelings. Step 3. We're also going to talk about step 4, meditation and contemplation. So until next week, be in love, walk in the light.
Ordering copies of the training manual. Self-knowledge, spiritual knowledge, living knowledge, written by Dr. Gil Gockley. Set up your own meeting house. Send a check or money order payable to Gil Gockley, address Gil Gockley, P.O. Box 205, Webster, New York, 14580. See www.gockley.com for details. Price for one book, $42.95 US, 2 to 10 books, $39.95 US per book. 11 plus books, $36.95 US per book. Write to Gil Gockley about book prices for individuals living in different countries. All prices include sales tax and shipping.